Welcome back to Breakfast Television. We are a week and a half away from a by-election in, I got to tell you, one of the most interesting ridings in this entire country, and that is Trinity-Spadina. Of course, that seat became vacant when Olivia Chow chose to move on to run for mayor of Toronto. We're talking to some of the candidates in that riding, and Joe Cressy from the NDP is with us right now from Trinity-Spadina. I'm right? Like, that is one of the most interesting ridings in this country.
Well, Kevin, Chinatown and Koreatown, Little Italy, Little Portugal, Toronto Islands, the condos in the waterfront, Mirvish Village, the annex, it's got it all. And it's sort of the heart of Toronto, and in many ways, I think, the heart of Canada. It is a downtown urban riding. I was born and raised in it. My wife and I live in the riding, and I'm a proud downtown resident, and it's a great place to live.
And you know what? And you look at Joe, and if you followed Trinity-Spadina in the last little while, I say, who have you? Where have you been? No, he's been in the back rooms. You have been behind Olivia Chow at times as well, and helping to run some campaigns as well in Trinity-Spadina.
Well, I've worked for the last 4 years on HIV and AIDS in Africa, and before that I lived and worked in West and Southern Africa. I've spent time living in reserves in Northern Ontario, working with Ojibwe and Cree communities on literacy, but I've also managed campaigns. As a volunteer, I ran Mike Layton and Olivia Chow's last couple of campaigns. You know, I've learned from them that in politics, you have to start with what you believe in. And for me, that's climate change and talking about those issues. It's talking about cities and transit. But what I learned from Jack first and Olivia and Mike Layton is you got to start with principle. You got to work really hard, and you got to push. Because on the issues we care about in downtown Toronto, nothing changes unless we push. And for me, that's public transit and that's climate change.
We saw this riding in the provincial election, of course. Can't get away from that. Switch over to Liberal red from the NDP orange. How does that make your work? How does it make your work cut out for you?
Well, the residents have been confused, Kevin. So I would go to the door and say, I'm the federal candidate in the by-election. They would say provincial. I'd say no, federal. Olivia stepped down to run for mayor. She stepped down. You know, she stepped down. I'm running to replace her. You're running against Olivia Chow for mayor? Start again. Right? No, it was confusing. And what happened in the provincial, I think a lot of people in Toronto said that we've had enough of Tim Hudak. We're scared of him. He's got to go. And they made the decision to vote Liberal. Conversely, at the federal level, what I hear on the doorsteps, and I knock on doors all day, is that people in downtown Toronto don't like Stephen Harper. They want a party that will stand up to Stephen Harper. And when they think of that, they think of the NDP. They think of Jack Layton and Olivia Chow, but they also think of Tom Mulcair, our leader, who's taken on Harper every single day.
And how can you take your concerns then, if you were elected to the House, how can you take the concerns not being a part of the government? You know, at this point, how attractive can the NDP be for the people of Trinity-Spadina?
Well, let me talk about one issue that I think where we can make change and matters to residents here, and that's public transit. So 80% of Canadians now live in cities. You know, more people ride the TTC every day than live in 9 provinces or territories. We're an urban country, yet we have no stable, predictable, and permanent funding for transit. You get these one-off announcements to build a subway or this or that. We need long-term, stable, and predictable funding. It's not a left, right, or center issue. It's just about getting Canadians and Torontonians moving again. That's an issue Olivia Chow led on with her national transit strategy when she was our MP here. And I've said I will carry her work on, and that will be the first thing I do, is restart her campaign on transit.
Now you chose to move from the back room to the front podium. Yeah. Any regrets on that? How is that? How different is that?
Well, it's liberating. I'm having the time of my life. I keep telling people that if you know what you believe in and you like people, and I mean really like people, this is a great thing to do. I knock on doors all day long and talk to people. And sometimes you get people say, politics doesn't matter anymore. They're all a bunch of crooks. But it matters so much. Or when we talk about transit, when we talk about childcare, when we talk about our environment, it really, really matters. And so I'm having a lot of fun as I put myself out there and talk to residents about the issues they care about and how, with politics, we can make change. But you got to work at it.
All right, Joe Cressy, NDP candidate for Trinity-Spadina, joecressy.ca or at Joe_Cressy on Twitter. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, it's time for entertainment now on Breakfast Television.